So my Google Pixel XL, you can see it here, um, is starting to develop some problems. The biggest problem of which is today, while I was on the phone with one of my relatives and I was talking to him, at 17% battery, my phone died. And it turns out the reason it died was because it was overheating. And I wasn't doing anything. I was just browsing an article he'd sent me while I was on the phone with him, and that's it. So the phone, it's actually the first time it overheated. It's always gotten warm, but it's never fully overheated. And now tonight, it's apparently overheated for the first time. And that has said to me that maybe I should see about getting a replacement. And I say that because as somebody with a vision disability, I rely on others for transportation and I cannot afford to be without a phone. Okay? My Pixel I've had since February of 2016, or 2017, excuse me, February 2017. So I've had it now for about a year and a half, and I use that phone pretty much all the time, because I use it to I keep in contact with my friends, keep up to date with the latest news. I use Google Assistant as well as Amazon voice services pretty extensively because I've got an app on the phone called Reverb that allows me to use Amazon's services. I use it to look through articles for my research. I use it to draft do small edits here and there, and I also use it to relax. They finally added Amazon Prime Video to the Android Google Play Store, so I've been using that as well as YouTube and whatnot, and an app called Yoga Studio to help me unwind. So basically, my phone is, as has happened with all of us, our phones have become our lives, and we use them more and more. And my phone, I do think, is starting to tell me that it's almost near the end of its life. Specifically, aside from the overheating problem, it's getting abnormally hot whenever I plug it into charge. Now, it's not overheated or exploded or anything, because obviously, here it is right here, and I'm touching the back right now, and it's as cool as can be. And once the battery is fully charged, the temperature does decrease. So, yeah, I can understand that that's normal, but at the same time, for a phone to heat up while charging, but at the same time, I do think it's getting a bit warmer than it should. But like I said, it hasn't overheated, it hasn't started smoking anything. I'm keeping a very close eye on it. But I think that, like I told you before, what's happening is the phone is just nearing the end of its life, because in addition to being really hot while charging, it's also slowing down significantly. There have been times when the keyboard would just die. I would be in the middle of typing something and the keyboard would decide not to come up at all. On occasion, it's decided to come back on its own. Other times, I've had to fully restart the device. So it's... Plus, I mean, let's think about it. I mean, a lot of phones these days are coming out with things like waterproofing, stereo speakers, wireless charging, just things that I would really, really like to have. And I was actually considering getting those features by going with another Samsung device. The reason I went with the Pixel XL in the first place had to do with my prior experience with Android and a Samsung Galaxy Note 2, which, towards the end of its useful life, the Galaxy Note 2 was virtually dead. There were times where it would take me so long to hit the answer button on a call that the phone wouldn't even answer to begin with, and I'd have to call the party back. And in terms of transportation, can't have that. The Google Pixel XL has actually exceeded my expectations because of that first experience with Android, has exceeded my expectations in terms of lasting, as long as it possibly can. If the battery is on good charge, and it's off of AC power, then it performs honestly perfectly fine. When it gets onto charge, especially if it's very low, that's when it starts to really stutter and struggle. Once it gets up to about 50%, then it seems to level off. But I don't know why that's happening. I don't know if what could solve it. I just think it might be time for, like I said, I think it might be time for a new device. I realize I'm repeating myself. I apologize, but you get the picture. So anyway, on to the devices that I'm considering. So one of them hasn't even been announced yet, and that is the Google Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3 XL. Now there's supposed to be 3 of these, and it'll be interesting to see what happens at Google I/O, but you're going to notice something right away. First of all, compared to the standard Pixel XL, the first generation, monumentally bigger screen in the same footprint. I love that. You've got the stereo speakers. I love that. It's going to have USB-C because I know the Google Pixel 2 has USB-C. I think micro USB is, with the exception of cheap devices like Amazon's Fire tablets, basically on the way out. I'm hoping there's going to be some kind of water resistance. Let's see, stereo speakers, larger screen, water resistance, USB-C. I think I've covered all the bases. Those are the things that are most important to me. And all of these phones have that in common. And I do want to stick with Android. I think I mentioned that already. If I have not, then basically I want to stick with Android because I use Google services more than Apple's, including Google Assistant. In conjunction with the Amazon voice service, I have an app called Reverb that allows me to use that. I do apologize. This is my third time doing this video, and I'm trying to remember what I did and did not talk about. So there's the Google Pixel 3, and we'll just have to wait for I/O to see what that's all about, so I can't really give you anything. The LG V30, my brother has the V20, and he seems very, very happy with it. This one, as I understand it, is supposed to be military grade for water resistance and drop resistance. Stereo speakers, dual cameras. Now, as somebody that depends upon magnification software, that's the other reason I want the bigger screen. It'll be interesting to see what the dual cameras have to offer in terms of any additional functionality to magnification software. In particular, what I use is a piece of software called Visor. Give me just a moment and I'll pull it up and show you. So this is Visor, and I realize that right now it's zooming in on my head. It's kind of strange, isn't it? So if we take a look here, we have the yellow button, that is your zoom button. Red is your light on and off. And blue changes your contrast. So black on white color, high contrast text, that sort of thing. This is a very simple to use, multi-level magnification program. And I think that with having a bigger screen, that could only lend itself to being even more useful in the program. So there's the LG V30. There is the LG G6. Now, of these two, I like the design of the LG G6 better. I just like the way it looks, the silver. I was going to put Google Assistant, by the way, on my list, but pretty much everything comes with Google Assistant these days, from what I understand. So it's going to have the Google Assistant. The one thing I'm not sure about is LG's interface, because you have to understand the first Android device I have was a Samsung Galaxy Note 2, and towards the end of its life, it became almost unusable. And if I'm repeating myself, I apologize. But one of the reasons it became unusable was the way the Samsung dressed up Android. It just became very, very bloat heavy, sluggish. It was worse than the Pixel. The Pixel only struggles if I plug it in and the battery's on low and it really needs to work hard to get the battery back up so it doesn't die. The Galaxy, though, had the struggling issues no matter what I did with it. So I'm a little anxious about any user interface over the top of Android. That being said, like I said, I do like the styling of the G6. And it's got all the specs that I'm looking for, as I mentioned earlier in the video. There is one other device that I am considering, and I cannot believe I'm about to say this, but the Samsung Galaxy S9 and S9 Plus. I'm really up in the air about this. I like the design. I love this coral blue paint. But as I mentioned before, my Galaxy Note 2, towards the end of its useful life, became literally almost unusable. I mean, it became a nightmare to use. So if I decided to go with a Galaxy, it would be as a last resort. That said, I've been very interested in the Samsung Bixby interface, or not Bixby, not Bixby. I already have the Google Assistant and the Amazon Voice Assistant. I don't need a third virtual assistant. But Samsung DeX, not Samsung Bixby, but Samsung DeX. The DeX interface has been something that's really I've been very curious about. It's the ability to hook up wireless, well, not wirelessly. It's got a wireless charger, I believe, but you hook up your device to USB-C. You have it sit on this cradle that provides cooling for your device, and the Samsung phone knows it's hooked up to this thing, and it knows to activate a desktop interface. Now, DeX started with the S8, S8 Plus, and the ill-fated Note 7. And as I understand it, a lot of people have been very curious about it and very, they think it shows promise. DeX is the only reason that I would get a Galaxy, to be honest. Otherwise, I think the Galaxies are too bloat-ridden, and I just don't know. At the moment, what I'm waiting for is for Google to announce and make their move. But let's say that Google did announce make their move, and it wasn't anything that I particularly liked. Of these three, what would you say? The S9 and S9 Plus, the LG G6 or LG V30, or the Google Pixel XL2? Now, I'm not so sure about the XL2 because of the display. A lot of people have said the display is kind of meh. So, I don't know. But what do you guys think? I think that in terms of design, as I said before, of these, so far, the G6 is my favorite. But I'm curious to hear your input. Thank you for watching. Comments are welcome, and have a nice day.